Alright guys, welcome back to another episode. So in the last episode we made some foliage which I have deleted because I didn't want my map to be uh, polluted with couches and bushes. So in this episode we're going to learn how to make interiors. Now there are many ways to make interiors, but I'm going to show you a way to do interiors using the geometry tab. Now if you go to the basic tab, if I click on basic, I can actually drag out a cube here and I can move this around. So actually a quick pointer that I want to give you guys. Instead of clicking manually here on move, rotate and scale, I can actually press the W, E and R tools for move, rotate and scale. So W moves, E is rotate and R is scale. It's very handy and convenient to know. So I'm not going to be using this because even though I can modify this and change the scale and make this a wall or whatever, it's still it's not the smartest way to do it. So I'm just going to delete. And the reason it's not the smartest way to do it is because of light leaks, right? So it's a little hard to line all these meshes up and have them not leak light. So instead we're going to go to geometry and we're going to use this box, right? And this is a brush. Just like in Photoshop you have brushes and you have an eraser, you can use geometry to make your map. So I'm going to click this and I've dragged it in. There's a nice little box. Now there are two ways to modify this box, and this is very important for you guys to know. Right? So you've got the scale, which I can transform through here, and you've got another thing which is the brush settings. Right? So the brush settings here. So you got X, Y, and Z. Now you might ask me, Varun, what's the difference? And I'm going to show you what's the difference. Right? I'm going to scale this, and as you can see, the textures are stretched out. Right? And we don't want that. We obviously don't want our wall to have stretched out textures. So I'm going to undo this with Control Z, and what I'm going to do is I am going to change it from here. So I'm going to be using a X value of 500 and a Y value of 502. Actually, no, let's make Y what it used to be. Sorry. Let's make it 20, just a thin wall, smaller wall, and let's make the Z 500. Right? So as you can see, and I'm just going to move this up a little bit. Right? In fact, what I'm going to do, whoa, that's a big wall, but it's a square wall. Yeah, it's a square wall. See, scale is okay. Yeah, looks a little bit off. But what you can do is you can just press the end button to snap the wall to the floor. If you want to snap anything to the floor grid, all you have to do is click on something and press the end key on your keyboard. Right? If you're on a laptop and you don't have the end key, I mean, all laptops have the end key, but if you don't have one, then throw it away and buy a new one. Now, what we're going to do is change the grid. Right? We're going to change the grid to 100 pixels because we want the next wall to perfectly line up with this. So I'm holding Alt to duplicate, as we've learned in the last episode, and I'm going to bring it here exactly. See, if I bring this here, you'll see that both the walls are overlapping. And what happens if I do that is that there will be some light leaks. It's not the most fun thing to see a light leak in your kind of house, right? So I'm going to move it perfectly. So as you can see, they're perfectly aligned. Right? I'm going to make another one. This is why I use grid, right? You can never go wrong with the grid. So I made 3 of these, which is awesome. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all 3, which is by holding Control 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to hold the Alt key, and I'm going to give us some space. Let's just give me a second. Oops, duplicated that. I'm not holding Alt right now to move it around. Right. So now you might ask me, Varun, well, if I want to make the walls, right now these walls are on one axis. What if I want to make walls on the other axis? Well, it's not as easy as you think. You can't just kind of do this, make a copy, and then rotate it like this. You shouldn't do that. And the reason you shouldn't do that is because even though it looks correct, the X and the Y are still the same. So as you can see, the X is still 500 and the Y is still 20, even though we know for a fact these have changed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all these 3. I'm going to select this, just this one, and I am going to make a copy of it. So I'm going to select this and I'm going to make a copy of it. Right? And what I'm going to do is I am going to change the X to the Y and the Y to the X. Basically, I'm flipping it around 500. And as you can see, it got flipped around. I press the end key to snap it to the floor because it was slightly off the floor, and I am going to snap this perfectly. Although this is going to go slightly outside because of the grid, let me just first align it and then start snapping back. So let's just bring this perfectly to the edge. That's right. And you guys got to get this right, otherwise you'll have unnecessarily light leaks in your map. Okay, that looks good enough. And I'm going to bring this back to 50 because I want everything to snap. Bring that there and bring that there. Now, as you can see, it's gone outside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select 1, 2, 2. I'm holding control to select multiple. 3. I'm not holding alt. Bring it to the edge. In fact, move this down to maybe 10, just so that I can snap it perfectly. This is important, guys. Getting this alignment is very, very, very important. And obviously, once I've got this side done, I can just 1, 2, 3, hold the alt key and move it perfectly where it needs to be. Perfectly where it needs to be. All right, so let's take one of these. Let's, just drag this here. And let's change the X and Y. Let's kind of move the X to 500, that's fine. The Y to 500. And let's move the Z to 20, right? And let's press end to snap this to the floor. In fact, let me bring it in the center. Press end to snap it to the floor, right? So I'm going to bring this to the very edge. Right, that went a little outside. As you can see, it's not perfect. Okay, this is good. And I'm going to snap that to that edge too. Right, perfect. So I'm just going to, hold the alt. Actually, I'll change the grid to 50 again, because it's hard without the grid to snap so easily. Snapped. Snapped. As you can see, it's going slightly outside. So, and that's because of the thickness of the walls. So I'm just going to change the Y to 400. Actually, let's make that 450. That go outside. What the hell just happened? Hang on. Let's move that to 490. Okay, it's going upwards, my bad. It's the X that we need to worry about. Again, this is just about finding the right length. 500. Okay, this should be good enough. No, it's not good enough. Oh, we've got the place to align it. This has to be done so perfectly well. Now obviously, once you have one house ready, then you don't have to worry about the rest, right? I mean, it's pretty much copy paste. Just hold the alt key and you can move things around. Okay, all of these three are not aligned. And you're going to have this problem, right? You're definitely going to have this problem. Which is why it makes a lot of sense for you guys to fix it early. I'm going to hold the alt key. That's 1 second. Made a mistake. Set the snapping grid. Perfect. Perfect. Whoops. Hold the alt. Alright. So, I think, as you can see, we are in. And the preview that you see there is because the lighting hasn't been built yet, but we've got a nice little room. Now let's give ourselves a door. And just like we use the box, we can use the box again, and we can use it like a brush, right? So right now we've used the brush as, an additive brush. So it's the additive brush. You can actually subtract from anything else that's geometry. You can't subtract from meshes, but you definitely subtract from geometry. And I'm just going to make this a door. Let's give this a height of 100. Whoops. Sorry, my bad. That was not supposed to happen. 200. Yeah, that was 200. we'll make this 20 and we'll make this 500. Right? It's a subtractive brush, so let's move it inside. I think you should make this 100. Yep. So as you can see, we have a nice little door, and if you press play, you can actually walk inside it. See how the light cuts through the door? We still haven't built the lighting, so it's not very accurate, but when we build it, you'll see how beautiful it looks. Right, so let's just copy the floor now and make a ceiling out of it. Right, so let me copy all the floors. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What's that? 9? Yeah, it's 9. Right, I'm just going to put this exactly where it needs to be put. Right, let's change that snapping to 5. Try to keep it as exact as you can. We call this airtighting because if you don't airtight it, then light can leak. Let's press play. Voila, we are more or less airtight. As you can see, there's a little bit of gap there, which I'll let you guys figure out. It's homework. Right, so you're in a room now and you're able to walk around, and you know, it's interesting. So obviously you can create windows, and let's do that. Let's create a window. Let's go here. We'll just create one window. Okay, I'm going to pull out a box. I'm going to make this a subtractive box, and I am going to put it through. Right, and as you can see, a window is created. So you know, see this nice little sunlight coming through. We'll give this nice God ray or these nice sun rays effects soon, but for now this is it. We've created the template of our house. In the next video we're going to texture this. Catch you in the next one.